Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to episode 10 of the Perspective Matters podcast. I promised you this week would be special, and it's special because of you, my faithful listeners. You've been so faithful for the past 10 weeks, and I wanted to do something a little different for you. I really appreciate the feedback I've been getting, and it's good to know that I've been having a positive impact on your life, and these episodes remind you of truths you've always known. The thing is, there's so much that we do know to be true, and we just need a reminder to get us refocused, to get us paying attention to the right things, to get us motivated and pumped to take action, to face who we are, and to have a little compassion with ourselves first and then with others. And that is why I do this each week, to remind myself and you of these truths as we navigate this thing called life. I've said before, words are powerful, and this is my lifelong message. Be intentional with your words. But what happens when we use our speech to deceive? Have you ever encountered someone who could talk their way out of any situation? Are you that person? What happens when our words aren't in alignment with our actions? Did you ever make a promise and break it? Has someone ever made a promise to you and broken it? How did you feel? And did you trust them again? When our words don't match our actions, there is a chain reaction that is set in motion. Some consequences are felt immediately, and others are felt over time. And this week I want to talk to you about potential versus patterns.
A faithful promise makes fool glad. The translation is, a promise delights the heart of a fool. The explanation is, don't be fooled by those that make big promises and never deliver. Oily tongue no must tell the truth. The translation is, a smooth talker isn't always honest. Explanation, be wary of a person who is a smooth talker.
The voice you just heard is none other than Cardell Eastmore, aka Mommy. Thanks, Mommy, for doing the Proverbs for me. And yeah, you got not one, but two this week. I told you this week was going to be special. The tone of the Proverbs is a little different this week. Don't be fooled by people who make big promises, and be wary of the smooth talker. You've heard this before, right? This is nothing new. People lie all the time. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to share with you the importance of distinguishing between patterns and potential. Potential sounds like a nice word, right? You date a guy because he has potential. You date a girl because she shows a lot of potential. And for a long time, I thought that potential was a good thing. That it was okay to have people in my life if they showed signs of potential, even great potential. Then I realized that potential wasn't enough. The sparkle of potential was just a dull glare that was blinding me to what really was. Potential was to mask the ugly truth. Potential is only that. Without diligent action, potential will remain unused. I've heard many life-changing statements, and I'm going to share one of them with you. This statement comes from Dr. Miles Monroe, who said, and I'm going to quote, "The wealthiest places in the world are not gold mines, oil fields, diamond mines, or banks. The wealthiest place is a cemetery. There lies companies that were never started, masterpieces that were never painted. In the cemetery, there is buried the greatest treasure of untapped potential. There is a treasure within you that must come out. Don't go to the grave with your treasure still within you." End quote. All of us have potential locked inside of us. Potential to do great things. I know this because the infinite wisdom who created the universe created me and created you. If you just sit and ponder the awesomeness that is this world, and then extend your thought to the galaxy, and then to the universe. Outside of realizing how tiny you are, you'd also realize that you're a part of something extraordinary. And if the galaxy leaves you in awe, weren't you in awe of the thought of you? You think the creator would go out of his way to create the universe and then make no effort when it came to you? I really hope you don't think that. I hope you know better than that. And if you don't, let me tell you, you are awesome. You are part of something that's awesome. When the Creator made you, He took His time with you. This world would be a better place, or will be a better place, when more of us start operating in this truth and shed the limiting beliefs that we've been force-fed. There is so much potential inside of you, just waiting to come out. But it starts with self-belief. Now here's some tough love for you. Potential isn't enough. If you've been keeping friends because of potential, how's that been working out for you? If you've been dating because of potential, how's that been working out? Potential is what will get you delighting in broken promises over and over and over again. Potential is what will keep you hooked on a smooth talker. Potential will have you believing in promises you have no business believing in, or making promises you have no business making. The smooth talker is just that, smooth. Smooth doesn't mean true. And I'm sure if we could trade stories, each of us could share a story of someone who was just too good to be true. Their words dripped honey, but that's all it did. Haven't we seen it before? In fact, every 4 years, depending on where you call home, some smooth talkers who stand behind lecterns and whose words are smooth, are so slick, they tell us what they think we want to hear. They make these grand promises, they put in manifestos. They check all the right boxes, and on the face of it, they have the appearance of someone who has the potential to do the job properly. When they get in office, very little happens. All the potential went out the door, and you're left feeling jaded. This is what happens when we focus on potential instead of patterns. Potential is what will have you create a vision board at the start of the year and nothing else. Potential is what will have you spend money for conferences, workshops, seminars, webinars, journals, planners, and all you have to show are receipts. And I'm not talking about the Real Housewives kind of receipts, actual receipts, proof of purchase. And if you're feeling a little bit defensive right now, it's okay. I was snatching my own edges too, because it's September 2019 and 2020 is just 3 months away. So this is the mental and spiritual kick in the hind parts to get us going. And we don't need to wait until December 31st to start doing it. We can start right now. Today, we can commit to focusing on patterns instead of potential. Patterns. Behavioral patterns, by definition, are a current way of acting by an individual or a group toward an object or given situation. So behavioral patterns are repetitive behavior. Take a moment to evaluate your life. Do you have some recurrent ways of acting that are not serving you? If this is too broad, let's narrow it down. Let's look at your health. Yeah, that's a touchy subject. But are there patterns you may need to let go? Patterns like staring at a screen immediately before bed? Or how about checking emails or going on social media first thing in the morning? Health isn't just physical, it's mental too, right? So examine both. Are your patterns helping you be your best self? And if not, what are you going to do about it? How about your diet? Ooh, I'm stepping on all the toes today. Are you like me? And is your first meal of the day at 3 p.m.? And the only reason you remember to eat was because you had a terrible headache? Or are you that person who has a house full of food, but yet you still order in? Or are you that person that's still eating like a college kid? Now, I won't belabor the point about the benefits of proper nutrition. Just do a quick Google search or go on YouTube and you'll see a million reasons a proper nutrition is important. How about exercising? Do you go for walks? Do you dance around your home? Are you chained to your desk at work? Do you live the sedentary life? I won't extol the virtues of physical activity. What I will say is this: be good to your body, and your body will be good to you. Don't worry, I'm going to leave the finances alone. I won't step on any more toes today, especially my own. I just want you to start thinking about your patterns and be honest. Be honest about which ones are serving you and which ones aren't. It's not enough to know. You also have to act. Knowing is only half of the battle, right? So now that you've put your life under the microscope, what's next? Well, make different choices. Sounds simple, right? Sounds really easy. And does that make you uncomfortable? As complex beings, simplicity sometimes throws us for a loop. Some of us excel with a 7-step action plan. Others thrive with 14, but suggest one step and your head starts to spin. And yes, it really is that simple. Make different choices. Your patterns were formed because you kept making the same choice day after day after day after day. If you want to see change, you have to be disruptive. Instead of putting the phone under your pillow or on the bedside table, how about you leave it in another room? So when the alarm goes off, you have to get up, go to the next room to turn it off, and then you'll already be standing. Instead of drinking your tea or coffee with 3 sugars, how about 1 sugar? Instead of orange juice, how about a glass of fruit-infused water? Yeah, sound like a millennial, right? It's okay. Instead of taking fries with your order, how about a salad? Instead of buying lunch, how about you pack lunch? At the core of our behavior is a series of choices. Choices that form a routine, which can lead to robotic actions. If we want to do something different, we have to do something different. Otherwise, it's just insanity, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Being conscious is super important, and so too is being intentional. This will require willpower. Now, there are thought leaders who are of the opinion that willpower has a limit, and you max out this limit when you have to make a lot of decisions. So if you want to keep your willpower in reserve, they suggest you do things to make the brain work less. Things like planning your outfits for the week, meal prepping for breakfast, lunch, and possibly dinner, your routes to work, your tasks for the day. When you itemize each activity, there is little room for the brain to decide, and you're not fatigued by decisions. And I can hear the arguments now. This all sounds so monotonous, so predictable. Where is the fun in that? And I say to you, life is a series of choices. Every day you get to breathe is a day you will have to make choices. Are they active or are they passive choices? Do you give in to patterns or will you become disruptive? Do you want to strive to be your best self? Or are you okay with your good self? Do you want to face the end of the month, the end of the year, or even your life with trepidation or regret? Or do you want to end it with gratitude, knowing that you laid it all on the table? You did it all. Here's something to remember though. My did it all is going to look different from yours. My list might be 200 and yours might be 50. And that is absolutely okay. It is not a competition. Social media and the world will tell you differently. And I say rubbish. You aren't and you shouldn't be in competition So don't fall prey to the thief of joy. Also, do what feels right for you. If you don't have a list that you're crushing, an empire that you aren't building, a world you aren't dominating, that's okay. Sometimes we get so caught up in the message of these success coaches. They mean well, but the truth is, sometimes you can feel like such a failure because they say, "It's September, what have you done? It's almost 2020, have you written your goals yet? Have you thought about what you want on your vision board?" And it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? I lovingly say to you, if today you were better than the you of yesterday, then that is progress. Not all of us were meant to be entrepreneurs. Not all of us were meant to be boss babes. What you were meant to be is content. Content with the fact that you're doing what you want to do, what you were meant to do, whatever that looks like. As long as you are okay with it, then that is all that matters. If you're not okay, then examine the patterns and create new ones. Depending on who you listen to, it may take 21, 66, or 90 days. The point is, consistent action plus time equals habit. So pay attention to your habits. If you're always lamenting that you never have enough time, well then do an audit of your day. Maybe there's a time-consuming activity that you're doing where you can actually reduce and reallocate the time. I can think of one. TV. The television. How many hours per week do you spend watching TV or streaming or whatever? And if you lament that there is never enough money, you will never have enough money, apart from the poor self-fulfilling statement that you keep repeating, which you really ought to stop. Is there a subscription you could get rid of? Are you still paying for a service that you don't use or don't need? If you're like me and you love lists and steps, well, I got you. I'm going to give you 7 steps that will help you create new patterns. Step 1. Do a self-assessment. The purpose of this assessment is to identify which patterns you need to keep and which ones you need to get rid of, and be honest. Step 2. Now that you have identified your patterns, think about how you're going to create a new pattern. And you need to figure out what works best for you. Do you need an accountability partner? Do you work better with apps or lists? Regardless, figure out what works best for you and do it. Step 3. For a routine that serves you, continue with this behavior as it reinforces the good habits you have established. And if there's a pattern that isn't serving you, establish a new routine that disrupts the old one. You know, like the idea of leaving the cell phone in the next room. That's an example. Step 4. Be gradual in your practice. I don't know anyone who could go cold turkey on anything. And not to say that they don't exist, I just don't know any. So my response to sudden change is this. Your pattern of behavior wasn't formed overnight. Therefore, a new habit isn't going to replace it overnight. So be patient with yourself and be gradual in your practice. Step 5. Have some compassion for yourself. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can be my worst critic and utterly harsh on myself. And while criticism is good, being unkind to yourself isn't. So while you go through this process, give yourself permission to fail. Not once, not twice, but over and over and over again. And be kind to yourself. Step 6. Reward yourself for positive behavior. This doesn't just work on pets and children. This works on adults too. When you do something well and you've made progress, reward yourself. I caution you though, the reward should not be the mission. It should be the behavior change. Step 7. Do a self-check. Take the time to check in with yourself and assess if there are any noticeable changes since step 1. Have there been changes? If not, why? And what are you going to do about it? Have you noticed changes? Have they been positive? This list isn't final, and it's also not set in stone. This is just an idea to get you started and to get you thinking about patterns. To be successful, you need to form good habits. And of course, they will differ from person to person. So define what success looks like to you and start from there. My beautiful, beautiful souls. Each of us walk this earth packed with limitless potential. Inside of us are companies waiting to be formed, masterpieces waiting to be painted, innovations waiting to be created, books waiting to be written, movies waiting to be directed, cures waiting to be found, discoveries waiting to be made. Don't make the cemetery any wealthier than it already is. Break the patterns that no longer serve you. Establish patterns that do. Your future self is counting on you. Your future self is cheering you on. He or she is waiting expectantly for you to catch up. You won't catch up though if you're not disruptive. So be disruptive. Pay attention to your thoughts. Be intentional with your speech. Be consistent with your actions. Your words must match your actions. Don't make fools of people who put their faith in you. Don't make promises you can't keep. You can be charismatic, just not a smooth talker. An oily tongue can only get you so far. And if you're not careful, your mouth will write checks your actions can't cash. As you go through life, shift your focus from potential and zoom in on patterns. Patterns are great clues for intention, so pay attention. Thank you so much for listening. It was Mommy's and my pleasure for sharing with you this week. We made it to episode 10, and I couldn't have done it without you, my faithful listeners. So a big thank you to you. And until next time, remember, there are two sides to every coin. Just flip it to get the full view. Catch you next week.